Healing Hands Health Society presents Dental Webinar Series. We have planned a series dental webinars to keep you abreast of current practice. This series on prosthodontics will be via Zoom, Facebook Live. Presenters are drawn from dental schools in the USA, private practitioners from around the world. To register for future webinars, visit www.hands.org/dental-training.
Dr. Michael Razzoog. Dr. Razzoog holds a dental degree and a Master's of Science in Prosthodontics and a Master of Public Health from the University of Michigan School of Dentistry. He's also a diplomate of the American Board of Prosthodontics. Additionally, he serves as a consultant to the Commission on Dental Competency Assessment, CDCA. He also serves as a reviewer of the Journal of Prosthodontic Dentistry, the Journal of Prosthodontics, and the International Journal of Prosthodontics. In addition to over 100 scientific articles, Dr. Razzoog has authored several books and chapters in academic textbooks. His research activities relates to the clinical aspects of CAD/CAM prosthodontics reconstruction to achieve optimum aesthetics of implants and natural teeth. Dr. Michael Razzoog, thank you so much for your willingness to come on here today. I'm going to get out of this screen so that we can. Yes, go ahead, Dr. Razzoog.
Uwe was one of my graduate students, and I'm amazingly proud of what he's done. When he approached me on this, I said this was wonderful. He had a thesis thing that he was going to do for implant dentistry for a couple countries in Africa, and we had submitted a grant for it. But of course, with the travel restrictions, that all went bye-bye. But then he came up with he wanted to do this to help out the community, and I can't be more proud. I just can't be. One other thing, I told him I would do this on two conditions. The first one is that I get to pick the picture that he uses of me. So if you look at that picture, you will notice that I have a lot more hair. That picture was taken, a year or two ago. But that was the first promise. And the second promise he made was that he was going to help me with this, because I don't have. It was a very informative presentation. It was also a very pretty presentation. I don't have pretty pictures. I just got words. And so he said that, no, we'll have questions so that we can have some interaction. And I appreciate that. We've got, like I said, we've got experts here, other people that are program directors, deans. They know about the specialty of prosthodontics. And we also have one other person in attendance here that knows more than I do about the dental licensing in the United States, Dr. Yeaman. So actually, I called him when I found out he was going to be here. I said, if you got any things, he said, well, I'm just here to keep you honest. But if you have any things, Dr. Yeaman, that you want to throw in, it's perfectly fine. Okay, so I got to share the screen. You got to share the screen. How'd that work?
Yeah, that's fine. You can see.
Okay, so Uwe has asked me to talk about two things. The title is one, but the first thing he wanted me to talk about is graduate prosthodontics in the United States. And so let me get this going. I wanted to put this up there because actually our specialty struggles at times with our identity. And the American College of Prosthodontics is a wonderful source for all of you people in terms of just prosthodontics, what it is, what the people do. They have, if you're interested in prosthodontics, certainly in the United States, they have a whole section, which I lifted some material from, on becoming a student and what student life is like. They have videos. It's a wonderful source. So it's the American College of Prosthodontics. And if you go to that source, then you can see all this material. So I'm just going to touch on a few of the things. You can read this as well as I can read it to you. The thing that I think is probably most important, if you're interested in a graduate program in prosthodontics in the United States, is the sentence that says it requires additional years of advanced training and education in a CODA. That's the accreditation arm of the American Dental Association, accredited prosthodontic graduate program. So, and the reason why I bring that up here is that all accredited graduate programs in prosthodontics must go through this accreditation process every 7 years. And there are guidelines, there are instructions, there are certain hurdles that each program has to meet in order to become accredited. So when people come and interview at our place, I always tell them that it's programs, yes, they're different from place to place, but they all cover essentially the same material. In many ways, they give you similar clinical, although right now it's a struggle, but clinical experiences, and you'll get a good education at virtually all these. So it's ensured that you're going to get this material based upon these accredited guidelines. Having said that, every school has strengths and has weaknesses. And again, Uvo will tell you, when he interviewed with me, I know I said the exact same thing. If you're interested in prosthodontics, you have to go and you have to talk to the residents that are there. And the best place to do it is not in the school when I or other program directors, faculty are standing there, but to talk to the residents outside of the school. Go for a cup of coffee, go out to lunch with them, go to dinner, whatever, and ask them about what they think about the program. And yeah, sometimes you'll have people that are disgruntled because of a lot of different reasons. But in general, you'll know who that is. You'll know whether they're valid criticisms or whether they're just upset about something that happened today. But usually the residents will give you a pretty good idea about their experiences and what they think is good about the program. They'll also tell you what they think is bad about the program or what could be improved. If you talk to me, I'll just speak for myself. If you talk to me, our program is wonderful. There's no room for improvement. That's not true. I think there is room for improvement, and we try to do that all the time. But I'm going to tell you the good stuff. You need to hear a little bit about the other side of the equation when you go to interview. And I would, if you're contemplating this big a move, I would certainly recommend that you go through that. Prosthodontics is one of the 10 dental specialties, and it requires a 34-month program of additional specialized training. Some programs are certificate programs. So there are two programs, certificate and certificate master's programs. The real difference between the two is that the master's program, you must complete a independent research project and write that project up during the program. That qualifies you for the Masters of Prosthodontics, Master of Science in Prosthodontics. The other way is you go through and you do the program. You may or may not do this independent study, but what's granted is a certificate. Either one of those routes makes you eligible to challenge the American Board of Prosthodontics, which is the highest level that we can achieve in our specialty. So all programs are similar because of CODA, and all programs are going to be an additional 34 months of specialized training. So there are these standards that we have to meet, all programs have to meet. and they read, and I'm sure it's very similar wherever you're at. They read in terms of the person in a certain area must be competent. They must have an in-depth knowledge, or they must have an understanding. And so the competent is the highest level. At least I feel it's the highest level. Competency means that you can do all of these procedures and you have the knowledge and the background in order to do them. In depth, that's a thorough knowledge, yes. Understanding means it may be so, and again, this varies from program to program. The understanding may mean in the area of anatomy, head and neck anatomy. You have an understanding. You may have an in-depth, but you're not an anatomist. And so every program will be able to fit within those standards. Yeah. If anybody has anything to chime in, please do that. So the first 4 items are what are taught in every graduate program. Removable prosthodontics, dentures, partial dentures, fixed prosthodontics, crown, and fixed prostheses. Implant prosthodontics, that has evolved over the last X number of years. And just recently, I think it was 2 years ago, if somebody knows, correct me, I think it was 2 years ago, it became a standard that the placement of dental implants must be incorporated into the prosthodontic program. So now all prosthodontic programs, to my knowledge, that are accredited must have their students place implants. Now, some do more than others. I know the University of Illinois, they do a lot. Other places, it's not so much. Hopefully it's enough for the person to feel like they're a safe beginner at placing implants. Implant prosthodontics also includes, obviously, any restoration that may go on to implants that are placed for a patient. Maxillofacial prosthodontics is an additional program. All prosthodontic programs have sections, some bigger, some smaller, where maxillofacial prosthodontics is given in terms of didactic, and in some places in terms of clinical experience. If a person is interested in this subspecialty of prosthodontics, maxillofacial prosthodontics, I hesitate to use subspecialty because I think they get upset about that. It requires an additional year of training. To my knowledge now, there are 4 places in the United States where that additional training can be done. There's very few maxilloprosthodontists in the United States. I think there's 400 people that have gone through the training in maxillofacial prosthodontics. Most of the ones that practice maxillofacial prosthodontics are in an institutional setting for a lot of reasons. There are some that practice maxillofacial prosthodontics in a private practice setting, but they're few and far between. It takes a very special person, in my humble opinion, to be a maxillofacial prosthodontics. It's you deal with some horrible defects, and you're dealing with people that are suffering terribly, and you're a psychologist, you're a skilled practitioner. I take my hats off to those people every single day of the week. Okay, so you go through the program. It covers the first 3 items. You do an additional maybe of maxillofacial prosthodontics, and that makes you educationally qualified as a prosthodontist. Educationally qualified means that you have the education to stand for the board, but you haven't done it. Then there's another classification, once you've made an application to take the American Board of Prosthodontics examination, then you become board eligible. And these are, I know these are funny terms, but these are how we market ourselves. These are how we talk about ourselves. The American Board of Prosthodontics is a difficult examination. I have people that will say that it is sort of a minimum competency. We'll talk about that in a little bit in terms of prosthodontics. But my feeling is that that board examination, if you can complete it successfully, you've proven that you really are a specialist in prosthodontics. And once you have completed it, you become a diplomat of the American Board of Prosthodontics. That doesn't mean you're a diplomat forever. Periodically, you obviously, like other places, periodically, like other places, specialties, you have to take a recertification examination. You have to prove that you've taken or have a certain number of credit hours in terms of continuing education, that you continue to give education. It's not that you're done. Actually, at that point, you're starting your career, and it's a lifelong learning career. I took this off the American College of Prosthodontics website because I thought it was kind of interesting, and it kind of shows why you really need to visit the institutions that you're applying to if you decide to apply. These are the top items. Now, they're actually broke down into top items for men, top items for women. But these ones, while they may switch a little bit between women and men, these 5 were the same for everyone, the top 5 for everyone. The reputation of the program, a lot of that has to do with how many papers the program publishes, how many people are out in the community, and I'm blessed. I've got several of my former students and one of my present students here. So I'm like I say, I'm proud of all of them, what they're doing. So the reputation of the program, that's very subjective. Another thing that's subjective, but apparently it's very important. It's either number 1 or number 2 on everybody's list, is the program director's personality. And that's another reason why you really need to talk to the program director before you settle in on a place where you're going to live for the next 3 years, you're going to pay tuition, and you're going to try to get an excellent education. Curriculum content, that's important, but I got to tell you again, in my opinion, because of the code of regulations, curriculum content is going to be very similar from institution to institution. At least I believe it is. Access to digital technology, that is, is fairly new. And again, you need to look at the institution and what they have available for digital technology. Again, that's the reason why a personal visit is extremely important. And then the other thing that people wanted to know about opportunities for implant placement. And I understand that because these people are going out into community where everybody is placing implants. And while some people have a practice model where they refer their patients out, prosthodontists refer their patients out for implant-based placement. For many patients, they don't want to go someplace else. They want to be treated in that facility. So I understand why students feel that it's very important for their education. You're going to hear from Dr. Elabrashi. In his particular situation, he has his implant installer in the practice. And I'm careful when I say that because implant installer can be a periodontist, can be an oral maxillofacial surgeon, whoever. But that, in his particular situation, it's right within his practice. So that's all I was going to do about graduate education, unless you had some other things that you wanted to bring up.
That is fine. That is, awesome. It's just a way, trying to get that, especially for the students here. We've been asking so many questions. How do you get to practice in the United States? One of the ways is to get into a program such as Prosthodontics.
Right.
It's a 3-year program that allows you to apply for licensure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then in that case, I'll get into that here then. Okay. And so again, if somebody has a comment, please feel free. So now we'll talk again a little bit about obtaining licensure in the United States for international students. And so before I go on, I want to tell you again the same thing that I tell every international student that comes and interviews for a position in our graduate program. In general, there are 2 ways to get to take the exam and to obtain a license to practice dentistry in the United States. If you're an international student. The first one is to go to virtually every dental school and get involved in their international dentist program. And almost every dental school, certainly all the public schools have it, not all the private, but most of the public schools have it. And this is an avenue for people. In some places, it will be a 2-year program, at least it used to be. Those are going away. Most now are 3-year programs, and at least one that I can think of is a 4-year program. And essentially what it amounts to is they register the international dentist into the DDS program. And so what happens is they get a little bit extra on the front end to get them acquainted with the techniques that have been taught to our students, for example, in some of the pre-clinic, and then they move into the clinic. And they take pretty much all the same classes that the DDS program takes. As soon as I say that to people, and I totally understand, but as soon as I say that to people, they say, well, I'm a dentist already. I don't want to go back to school in order to get a license. I want to move forward. And I certainly understand that. They don't want to spend another 3 years of their life in dental school, and that is just to obtain a license. They want to get additional training. And again, I understand that. So the second mechanism of getting a dental license is to attend an accredited graduate program. And I'm talking about Michigan, because I don't know, every state is different. Most states don't allow this. Michigan does. If you take 2 years of an accredited specialty program, you are eligible to apply to and take the Michigan only dental exam. And what that does is, if you are successful in completing that examination, you can apply to get a license in the state of Michigan. Once you get that license, you can apply for a license in, I really don't know the number, 7, 8, whatever. If somebody knows the number, jump in. States in the United States, but you can't go anywhere. It's very restrictive, and that law could change at any time. So I always tell people that come to interview for the graduate program, please consider going back to dental school, because once you go back to dental school, then you have a DDS degree from a U.S. dental school, which allows you to sit for one of these regional examinations and allows you to literally go anywhere in the United States to practice. And you never know what your circumstance is going to be from year to year. You may say, well, I want to live in Michigan. Oh, okay, fine. That's wonderful. But, 2 years later, your husband or your wife gets a job in Florida, for example. You will never be able to get a license in Florida without going back and getting a DDS degree, the undergraduate program. So those are the two mechanisms. Okay? Did that make sense, Uvo?
Yes, that works. I mean, I guess we would break it down further, because I know I wanted to talk about the CDCA, but I think at this level is just okay in terms of what we need to do. So if you are, I know there's some people right now. You wrote to me and you say you are in the country, and somebody just asked a question. I think we could. If you have any questions, go to the Q&A section. So just type in your questions, and we'll pick your questions. I'm going to have a question for Dr. Professor Unweni from the Dean of Dentistry in Uniben. So just get ready. Mohammed from Somalia is asking, what are the most important criteria for selecting an international dentist into into your program? So what do you look at? I know, what do you look at in trying to select an internationally trained applicant?
Yeah, there's a formal mechanism, and I assume it's at every dental school. Now there's a group called Pass. All applications go there. The graduate program looks at all the applications. The potential graduate student looks at all the schools there, and they say, well, this is my number one school, this is my number two, my number three, my number four. And then the school goes, well, this is my number one person, number two, number three, number four. And then there's a match that's done. And from that, interviews are held, and then the final decision is made. I have to believe that every program, because again, it's a part of the accreditation guidelines. Every program has a formal structure, and the structure consists of first the match, and then I'm assuming most of them, if not all, would have an admissions committee, which is usually made up of the faculty of the graduate program, and then they look at the applications and they decide how they're going to do this match, get together. And I'm going to say, well, our graduate faculty in general, when our graduate faculty looks at applications, what is very important to us, obviously there's the grades. And our school, our graduate school that we work through has, I can't remember what it is, the name of it exactly, but what it does, it takes a look at different dental schools from around the world and equates their GPAs or their grades to a standard, so that there may be a school that the grades are very inflated and they'll bring those grades down, or there'll be a school that has very strict and they'll bring those grades up. So there's a way of balancing out the grades. Obviously, the grades are very important. And before the interview, quite honestly, for me, it's the letters of recommendation. And when people ask about which letters of recommendation I should get, I tell them I really don't care about the dean's letter. I'm sorry, I know you have a dean here, but I don't care so much about the dean's letter because in my experience, the dean's letters all sound the same. They're not really written about their standard that the secretary is doing. So what I want to see is maybe a letter or two from the faculty that they work with, that they felt good about, that they worked well together, and then I'd like to have a letter or two from previous employers. That usually speaks to the person's work ethic. Again, my belief is that given the fact that that people that apply have all they've self-selected by going to dental school, and by completing dental school, they've even more self-selected. I'm not so hung up that they can't learn material. I want to know about what their work ethic is, because if somebody's coming into a graduate program to get a piece of paper and not really so interested in learning or working hard, because prosthodontics is hard, folks. I don't really care for that. I'd rather take that student that is, they're always going to be above average, but I'd rather take that student that's maybe not the superstar, but the letters of recommendation show that the person is a hard worker, that they delve in, they do more than what they're asked, that sort of thing. Because I feel that and I know every graduate program feels the same way. Well, I shouldn't speak for everybody, but I will. Every program feels that way. I can take somebody from here and I can build their skills if they want. But graduate education is different than undergrad. Graduate education relies on the individual, probably more so than any other place, in order to achieve their goals. We run graduate programs, we run seminars. We don't run lectures. And unfortunately, in this era right now, everything is a lecture. But graduate programs are small, and the seminars that we have are more interactive. The resident needs to participate in the seminar, and when they participate, and when they ask good questions, and when they show that they've prepared ahead of time, that's when it gets exciting for the faculty. So there's that, and then obviously it's the interview and how the person carries themselves in the interview. And that's by luck and by golly, because anybody can fake anything for a day, I suppose. But you know, after a few years of doing this, you sort of get a sense. And so those are the main things that we weigh. If anybody else want to chime in, that's fine.
Okay, I'm going to call. Is Professor Uweni from the University of Benin? Are you there?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, madam, for sitting in with us. I wanted to ask a question to you. I don't know. I know you have your own comments, but I wanted to ask a question. Does your university prepare, because the CDCA, the American exams have a certain, expectation from the students in terms of crown prep, dimensions, and all that. Does your university prepare students, not specifically for an American exam, but does it look into those criteria for you to get a license in America?
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Ovon.
Hi.
The University of Benin's curriculum takes care of many of these aspects of prosthodontics and removable, and they are well qualified to sit for the exam. For the records we have, most of our students usually pass the preparatory exam for the PDS program almost at first attempt, which suggests that the program, the curriculum is fit and proper and for the students to be able to practice or participate globally.
Okay, all right. So please go ahead with any other comments you have. Thank you for being here today, and hopefully your students are here. Hopefully they can learn one or two. We are hoping that we'll be able to form a coalition so that we can have an integrated curriculum for implants training for predoctoral students.
Thank you very much. I'm very proud of you because you are a worthy ambassador of University of Benin. I want to say that what you have done is an insight to what we can do to expand the scope and perhaps prepare ground for our postdoctorate degree programs, because we are trying to ensure that we have postgraduate training for our program. I think what you are doing will be a good way for link up and, of course, expand the scope for the program. Thank you very much, Dr. Bob.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Dr. Tayo Ololade, you raise your hand. You are from South Africa. Can you hear me? Dr. Ololade from South Africa, if you had a question.
Dr. Numbisi has a comment.
Okay, go ahead, Dr. Numbisi, while we get Tayo to come on.
Yes, Dr. Razzoog, thanks for, I wish when I was trying to go to residency, I had somebody like you to listen to.
Bless you.
I'm a little more, how will I say, unique in that I went to college in the United States and then I went to dental school in the United States and everything. But I heard you say something that sometimes is difficult to apply to students from Africa and the rest of the world. Usually, I have the advantage to have been born and raised in Cameroon and went to grad school in North America, but college and grad school. But I can tell you this right now, most African dental students have never had a job because in our countries, we go to school all the way. We don't go to school, stop work for a couple of years, and then go back to dental school or pros. So you will find that especially your African candidates, are not going to have a letter of recommendation from a former employer.
Yeah.
So that was my little 5 cents there.
Yeah, you're right, and that's true in the States too. Most of our dental students have gone just straight through and never really had a job. But they've all done something. They've worked during their dental school. They've worked in a community clinic of some sort, or they've gone out and they've done a program at an elementary school or that sort of thing. It's not that I don't. Again, I'm just talking for myself. I discount the dean's letter only because I don't know how big the school they come from, but I'm going to use ours. We've got 125 students in each class. Our dean doesn't know those people by name. They don't know what they've done unless they've done something bad. And so I discount those letters. I want to hear from the faculty that they work with and in the clinic, but also in the classroom setting. So it's a big classroom. It's hard. I know that. But certainly in the clinic setting, those are one-on-one encounters. And those people know that candidate. They know if they're just coasting, try to make it as easy as possible, or if they're delving in, they're challenging themselves. So it's those people's letters that I take as being the most important.
Okay. I'm going to go next. We have someone who has gone through the program. She's schooled. Annalise, are you there? Dr. Annalise Perez. Annalise, if you are there, I'm going to call on you to tell us about. But there's a link on the University of Illinois in Chicago. There's a link on their website that talks about the roadmap. I think every student out there, you need to take a look at this before you make an attempt to apply or anything. Just look at it. There's something related to what we were just saying now that's on there that I think it will pay you because there's so many people applying. There are thousands of people applying, and you want to differentiate yourself from other candidates. How do you do that? Sometimes you have to get a master's degree. Sometimes you need to, you need some certifications in the dental field. Did you do a bench preparatory test? Have you done some observerships? Are you interested in, have you done some research? Do you have any publications? Do you have honors from the education you've done? Do you have continuing education courses? I think all that will help. Are you involved in volunteer activities? Do you go and do something? All that will help to separate you from other candidates. I think it is essential that you take a look at this. It's called the Roadmap to Dental Licensure. It's available on the University of Illinois in Chicago on their website. Hopefully, we're going to get Dr. Adriana Semprom, the director of the advanced program. She's going to be here very soon. She's going to be on this series she's going to talk about her school, and she's going to talk about how she gets people, what's the criteria. So you can ask your questions. So just stay with us. And Annalise, are you there? Annalise, can you hear me? Well, I don't know if Annalise is there, but if you have any other question, please go ahead and ask. And if not, we are going to, coming up, we have a lot of other lectures lined up from now till we get to sometime in September. It is fully packed. Tomorrow we have the maxillofacial prosthodontists. They're going to be on there. We have two doctors. Dr. Kim is going to be on there, and I think you want to avail yourself of the opportunity to be here and tell your friends, tell students. Today we have more than 50 students from Ethiopia. Thank you so much for logging on. We're going to have several other lectures. I need you. Dr. Yaman, are you able to speak a little bit?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Okay. I know you do. You are the one that, when I was taking the exam, when I took it, I had to pray. I had to pray for peace, because when you come in there. So what do you look at when you do? I know you have a criteria when you have an examiner for a CDCA exam. What can you speak to about that?
You mean in terms of the criteria, what we're looking for?
Yes.
Well, I think all the criteria is readily available. So any candidate that's sitting for the exam actually has access to the criteria, which is the criteria that we use to evaluate their procedures that they do both on the patient and on the typodont. So it's available for people to look at. It's available for them while they're sitting for the exam. They can have it on their tray table, looking at it, reading it, and reviewing it while they're taking the exam. So it makes it available to them that way.
All right. So it's pretty standard. If you go on there to the CDCA website, there are some manuals out there. And I know you are going to be coming up very soon on July 18th. You're going to be presenting on, can you just give me a little tidbit here on porcelain laminates?
Right. So we will be discussing, current thinking about porcelain laminates, diagnosis, indications, preparation design, and placement.
Okay. So, so those are, in other words, these are veneers, like most people popularly know. And I'm looking forward to having you July 18th for that. Thank you so much for your willingness to do this for us. We are really, really very appreciative.
Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Razzoog.
Yeah, are they seeing my screen?
No, you can go ahead and share your screen, sir.
Okay. This speaks to what Dr. Yeaman was talking about. So Dr. Yeaman and I both are consultants for the CDCA, which stands for the Commission on Dental Assessments. Help me with that, Pete. Anyways, there are a number of regional examinations. Every state is responsible for their own licensing, but there are a number of regional examinations. This map, and you can read the portion at the bottom to tell you where this exam is accepted. This is if you have a DDS from an accredited dental school. So it's almost across the country now. It's the same exact exam that's given everywhere. And these are what Dr. Yeaman was talking about. And I'm not going to put them all up there, but it gives you a rough idea. Pretty much the CDCA exam is to measure minimum competency. And that's it, minimum competency. And to assure minimum competency to the State Board of Dentistry, who assures that to the people of the various states that they're in. So these are, I pulled off one, the criteria that we look at when we evaluate a restoration, the dentistry that's done. And so you can see it's by different areas. Most of the criteria are measurable, which means that you can see here less than 1 millimeter, but greater than. Anyways, they're measurable criteria. So all the people that take the examination see these criteria. They all have the same, and this is what we evaluate. And pretty much it's either acceptable, which doesn't mean it's excellent. It means it meets minimum competency. So it's either meets minimum competency or it's just ugly. There's really not too much in between there. So that's what Dr. Yeaman was talking about. These are available on the CDCA website for students, and these are the criteria that are used. And quite frankly, if an examiner doesn't use these criteria, they're called out, because each thing, so here, for example, proximal clearance, that's not assessed by one person. So it's not just my assessment. 3 people independently evaluate this, and 2 of those people have to agree. So if I walk in and I say the proximal clearance exceeds 2.5, and the other person says no, then that's no good. 2 out of the 3 have to agree. So anyways, so those are the criteria. And this is what I mean by minimum competency. They have to use a rubber dam. It's sort of by the book, and then things are evaluated. I pulled some of these out so you can see it. I'm not going to show you pretty stuff. I'm going to show you a few of the of what we see when there is a failure. And this particular one was a person that had a pulp exposure but didn't recognize it. So what happens is the student, the candidate, does the preparation in one area. There's people out there from the CDCA watching to make sure that things are going correctly. But then the patient only comes to the evaluation area, and the 2 areas never mix. So when I evaluate a patient, I don't know if Uvo did it. I don't know if Dr. Yeaman did it. I don't know. I know the patient that's sitting in front of me, and that's it. And so there's very little chance for bias. So I evaluate, I walk away, and the next person comes in and does the evaluation. And then another person comes in and does the evaluation. If they agree, fine. But this is a situation where there was a pulp exposure. This, I said I wasn't going to show you a pretty one, but it's a pretty nice preparation. There are criteria for every single part of this preparation, but I don't know if you even need to so much look at criteria for you to just say, well, this is pretty good. And again, this is how the measurable criteria are used. What I'm trying to impress upon everybody is when these examinations are given, the national board used to be 2 parts, now it's 1 part. The national board is something that you have to pass. It's a written examination administered by an agency of the ADA, and you must pass that in order to get a license in any state. But this relates to the practical examination that's given and is applied in most of the states in the United States. But again, the reason why I put this in is to show you that there are measurable criteria and that the examiners are expected to use that measurable criteria when they assess something. So it's not just, oh, this doesn't look good. No, it has to have measurable criteria. And pretty much, again, the criteria is either it meets minimum competency or it's just terribly ugly. And again, one of the biggest problems that we get is open contacts. We see that all the time. And that amounts to, as you can see here, a failure for the examination. So And the only other thing I want to talk about is the nature of the examination, because it's evolving, and it's evolving really quick. In the past, when I took the licensing examination 100 years ago, we had to take final impressions for a denture. We had to do the jaw relations for a denture, and we had to arrange the teeth on the articulator and present that. We had to perform a class 2. We also had to do a class 2 amalgam and or we could do a gold foil. I know probably nobody does those anymore, but we could do a gold foil. And then you had to do a class 3 composite restoration. And then on top of that, on a typodont, we had to cut a 3-unit fixed partial denture preparation. We had to wax it, we had to cast it, and we had to apply a facing to it. So it was a big, that's all changed. Now, in the past few years, we've moved towards a typodont exercise, and that's to assess the minimum competency of an individual in preparing a crown for a porcelain fused to metal restoration, for an all metal restoration, and for an all ceramic restoration. So, and that's been going on for a while. And again, you have the same kind of criteria and the same kind of assessments. And I'll stop with that's what's done. That's still done. But last year, Dr. Yeaman and I and some others were involved in a pilot study, and actually Dr. Yeaman was involved putting the tooth together, of using typodont teeth to replace the class 3 restoration and now to replace the class 2 restoration. So there wouldn't have to be a patient except for, at the time, except for the perio patient where they have to scale and root plane 13 surfaces of teeth. Anyways, so we were involved in that pilot. Actually, the pilot went very well. The teeth are very good. And it's a blessing because the CDCA was ready to implement this non-patient examination. And because of what we're all going through right now, doing, as you might imagine, doing a patient-based evaluation with all the patients having to be there at one time, all this stuff that goes on, it would be impossible. And I don't even know when and if it'll be possible. But the CDCA had done this pilot, so now the examination is essentially without patients. Now, the only caveat to that, the only thing about that is that some individual states require a periodontal evaluation on natural teeth. And it takes a little bit of working with the lawmakers to change the State Dental Practice Act so that you can do just typodont work. But I was supposed to go to an examination in a few weeks where it was going to be the typodont for the crown preparations and the typodont for the class 3 and class 2 restorations. Now they're going to use a typodont in that particular site for the perio examination. So it wouldn't surprise me that very shortly all the states will adapt to this typodont exercise. It's still treated, that typodont is treated like a patient. So the actual dentistry is being done in one area, one clinic, and the evaluation is being done in another, so that I, as an evaluator, doesn't know that Uvo is taking, this is Uvo's. And I have a thing where I want to make sure that he passes. Or I don't like Uvo and I want to make sure that he fails. It can't work that way and won't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So things are changing kind of rapidly. I think we had a question about that, Uvo.
Yes.
That's really all I wanted to say about that.
I mean, that's really, really very, very insightful. Annalise, are you there? Annalise is I'm just doing my introduction. If you're able to get on, she's foreign. She's trained outside the United States, and she just wanted to tell her story how she got accepted, and she's now practicing in somewhere in Florida. Anyway, if she's not here, I'm going to share her slides, you know, on the video. These videos are going to be available on YouTube at some point, so you can go back. I know it's a lot of information coming at you. You know, next week we have tomorrow we have the Dr. Razzoog. Do you have more to present on your?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you so much. I know people still have a lot of questions here. Let me see. Someone from Ethiopia just tried to send me a message. You had a question. Someone's asking, how can someone, and this is someone known to me, how can you suggest, how can you improve your application profile?
Well, obviously the grades usually by the time a person decides they want to go into a specialty program, any specialty program, usually their grades are already done. I mean, they may have one term left at the most, and so you're not going to change your grades very much at that point. What can be done is a number of places have postgraduate programs. I think Uvo talked about this a little bit. They have postgraduate programs where people can come to one of the universities and they should try to pick the one that they really want to go to the graduate program in. They can come to the universities and then they can observe. Some places do patient treatment, others don't, but they can observe. They can observe. They take classes with the residents, that sort of thing. And then we talked about letters of recommendation. Then you can get letters of recommendation from the people that you worked with in these postgraduate programs. It's an additional year. Well, anywhere from 3 months, 6 months, a year, depends. And that part doesn't matter so much. But I'll tell you the truth, and that's just me. But if I have been with a person for 3 months and have seen them interacting with residents, interacting with patients, interacting with the faculty, and I see something good, I'm going to have a little bit better opinion of the person than if I only saw the paper. But on the other hand, and we've had this too, where people do this postgraduate thing with the idea that, oh, that's going to get me into the program. And then they don't put any effort into it. They kind of show up, maybe not. But that's a negative. So in that standpoint, they're better. Is that Annalise that you've been asking about?
Yeah, yes.
Hi, Annalise. I'll give you. I'll let you take over just a sec. If you do that in a postgraduate program, then it's a negative. It's going to work against you. So again, it all gets back to work ethic and how badly do you really want it? All yours, Annalise.
Annalise, so tell us, where did you go to dental school?
Well, hello everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I'm from the Dominican Republic. That's where I originally went to school. And then I did dentistry here in the University of Illinois at Chicago.
So you went and you went back to dental school essentially in the international program?
Yes. I did the advanced standard here in the United States.
Okay. And what else have you done? How was it for you to take the exam? Do you think the school prepared you enough to take the CDCA exam?
The CDCA exam, yes. Yes. I did feel prepared.
You know, I think I did the exam too. I think it would have been really, really difficult. I was asking the dean for University of Benin earlier because, you know, sometimes we're not working on typodonts. I don't know how many schools. You have students from everywhere here. Did you guys practice on typodonts before coming? Or, you know, do you do that? I don't know. I don't think it's done because typodonts are expensive, you know, typodont teeth. So tell me, you also did an AGD. Why did you decide to do that?
I did a GPR.
Okay.
Not the AGD. There's a difference.
Oh, yes, I know GPR. So why did you do that?
I decided to do a GPR after I graduated from UIC because I was still thinking about doing a specialty, and I was giving myself a little bit more time to decide to see if I wanted to pursue a specialty.
Dr. Razzoog, she confided in me that she didn't do pros because she thinks it's hard. I mean,
It is.
it is hard. It's no joke.
I tell Uvo, I've probably told you this too. In many respects, I don't oral maxillofacial surgery. I don't even talk about those people because they have no lives at all. They sign up, they go to the hospital, you never see them again for 7 years. But of the other specialties, and I'll say that here, and then anybody that's in a different specialty can yell at me. I think ours is most difficult in a graduate program. And the reason why is there are some specialties that they do a lot more reading. There are some specialties that we do quite a bit in prosthodontics, quite a bit of reading. But what we do different than most other specialties is, even if we got all this digital stuff and we're doing it, there's still a lot of lab work. So I see my residents, we get done with clinic in the afternoon, or we used to. We get done with clinic in the afternoon, and I leave, and I walk out with the, this is going to get me in trouble. I walk out with the perio residents, I walk out with the ortho residents, I walk out, these different residents. My residents stay in the lab, and they're there until, I don't even know when, I don't want to know. And they're there on the weekends. And it's not that we don't have this big digital footprint, it's that there are things that you do in prosthodontics that are just lab related. You're going to have to do them. And so from that standpoint, and then they still have to do the readings. So from that standpoint, I think my residents work really, really hard. And I tell them that before they ever start. It's not easy.
Anyway, she's thinking about doing a specialty. I'm like, well, we'll see you soon.
Which one? Which specialty?
Me? No, I actually wasn't pros. So I was thinking about endodontist or orthodontics. Either or.
Yeah, the endodontist.
Not that I don't like prosto. Don't get me wrong. I like prosto.
I'm sorry, I've got to do this. Okay. The endodontists, they have two movements. They have one movement like this, and the other movement is give me the money like this. And that's all they do.
I haven't made up my mind. I like prosto. Don't get me wrong. That's when I was in that's what was one of the first one that I was interested in, prosto. But let's see what the future holds, because it's just a never-ending process, to be honest. Yeah, there's so much to do that you can learn.
Okay, yeah. Hold on. There's someone from Ethiopia. Caleb, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, yes, you had a question. Caleb is the president of the Ethiopian Dental Students Association. And he has brought 50 students.
Congratulations.
With him today.
Thank you very much. It was a team effort, to be honest. I do have a couple of questions for Dr. Razzoog. First of all, I would like to thank him for coming and lecturing our African students on how to apply for your university. Your university seems amazing, and we hope to acquire knowledge from you and from UVAF as well. My first question is there any financial support in universities for international dental students? Because we have so many brilliant dental students in our country and in Africa, but due to lack of financial support, they don't get the opportunities to go abroad and get the best educations.
Yeah, I would never say never, but they're very slim, and quite honestly, I think it's going to be, the answer is going to be no for probably a bunch of years to come. All dental schools all over the world and in the United States are now especially really hurting for money. This thing has kicked everybody. And there used to be some programs that you could apply for. Quite frankly, most of that money went to PhD students, not in dentistry, PhD students in other areas. But even the little bit that was there, I honestly think it's going to go away. I'm sorry to say, at least for the foreseeable future, because of this COVID stuff and the fact that the country's shut down for so long. Yeah.
Okay.
I wish I had a better. I wish I had a more encouraging answer than that, but I don't.
No, actually, I would like to thank you for your honesty. A sort of follow-up question with that. Are there any internship opportunities for international students? Because after we finish our 5th year here, can we go abroad, especially to University of Michigan or any other American university, and do our internships there? Because there's a lot more, there's a broader and a more technological dentistry in USA.
So you do internships? I see. Our students don't do that. You do internships after you get done with the dental program?
Yes, we do. After we finish our 2nd clinical year, we do 1 year of internship before graduating.
Oh. I would tell you to ask Dr. Sempum. Well, is anybody talking about GPRs or AGD programs? I don't know if international students are eligible for those programs or not. You're
programs. Some programs do take international students, but very few slots.
Yeah. Because
most of those programs pay you to do it. So.
Yeah. So, in answer to your question, all schools have these, well, not all schools, many schools have these postgraduate things, but you pay for those. And so it becomes expensive. And I'm not so sure that would really meet your needs. If your intention was to go back to your home countries, wherever they may be, and practice dentistry, I don't think that would meet your needs. The closest thing to what you're talking about is either the AHD program that Annalise talked about or the GPR program that she talked about. But as Uvo was saying, there's not so many of them that will take international students. So, I'm not being very encouraging, I know, but the reality is it's hard. It's really hard to do that.
We're going to close shortly. I just want to call on Dr. Ivy. Dr. Ivy is a graduate student from China. Ivy, are you there?
Yes.
Now, Ivy has a PhD. She's a dentist, and she also has a PhD. So she really prepared herself. There was no way.
It only means that it's very hard to get to the United States. You have to do a lot of schooling before you can ever get into States.
So every person has a different story, but so for her, she has a unique one because she has in the area, and I mean, she's interested in research. Ivy, can you talk a little bit about why you chose PROS?
Well, PROS is the best. That's very obvious.
Better say that.
So, actually, I was trained in perio for PhD, but then I decided that I won't go for perio. So choose PROS. That's the best. But for international programs, you can check it's called International Dental Programs or Dentist Programs. It's on the website of almost every university. They have different programs. Some are like attachments, as like you visit. Some are more clinical related. There are master's, non-degree programs, and like visiting programs, different programs you can check on each university's website, dental school website, I think.
Okay. I mean, so those opportunities are out there to upgrade yourself, practicing as it. I've been, I'll tell you my, briefly my unique story. When I came into the US, first of all, you have to make up your mind what you want, on time. because time just rolls away. When I came into the United States, I was still dilly-dallying, and I went for an MPH first. After I finished that, I did the residency in dental public health. And that didn't get me a license, so I figured, you know what, I need to take the exams, and I went back to school. I went back to University of Illinois at Chicago for 2 years. I got a DMD. And I practiced for a little bit, and I want to do some more advanced work. I'm in a program right now. So it doesn't end, you know, there's no end to knowledge. It depends on the individual, what you're looking for. America, you know, gives you an opportunity, and you can be a good clinician where you are. You know, you don't have to travel. You can upgrade yourself, connect with people from around the world. Tomorrow, we're going to have two amazing maxillofacial prosthodontists. By same time tomorrow, we have Dr. Kim and Dr. Akanshka. She's coming all the way from Texas and from, you know, so they are going to be here tomorrow. Please tell your friends. This is going to be really, really unique, on considerations and techniques for removal of dental implants and the introduction to maxillofacial prosthetics. It's going to be really, really loaded. Please, you don't want to miss it. Tomorrow by 3 p.m. West African time, 10 a.m. New York time, and whatever time you are in Ethiopia, please check it out. Tell your friends. Like I'm calling all the students. If I have more students, you know, I'm just going to give. There's going to be something for all the students that attend. There's going to be something from me, because I want you guys to upgrade what you have, know something else, and get inspired to apply for residency programs. I'm hoping that by the end of this series, we'll have a lot more applicants who are interested in the field of prosthodontics and other parts of dentistry. Thank you so much, Dr. Razzoog. I really appreciate your speaking today. It has really made a difference. The video is going to be available on YouTube, so just follow us somehow. I'm going to share it to everyone. There's going to be a post-test. I'm going to email it to everyone who has participated today. So please go check your email. There'll be a mail from University of Michigan Qualtrics, a post-test on Dr. Tolumi's presentation. Thank you so much, and see you tomorrow. Any last words, Dr. Razzoog?
No, just nice doing it. Congratulations. Good job.
Thank you.
Dr. Uvo?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Uvo?
Yeah, right there. Go ahead.
Yes, this is Dr. Mbisi, Sammy. Dr. Razzoog, thank you very, very much. I wish I had somebody like you to listen when I was trying to find my way. Probably like Uvo, we all did it the hard way. With technology and your goodwill and everything, we're trying to make this a little easy and more realistic, because I heard some of the questions. A lot of these young, brilliant doctors tend to think that we have all these opportunities in the US, especially for foreign dentists, and it's very limited. It's very limited. So what I would like to ask Dr. Uvo to do maybe is to share with me, especially because I have I go to Africa a lot and lecture. Is there a link? Is there a website that I can share with all the other students and doctors that are still not aware of this forum, which I think is amazing? I mean, you've done an amazing job today. You brought, you know, everything came from the horse's mouth, essentially, like we say here. Dr. Razzoog just laid it out, and you know, and all the possibles and the not possibles, the maybes, and this is amazing. This is great. So if there's a link, you can email me or the other people, so we can disseminate this to a broader audience.
Yes, there's a link. That's the link I'm sharing right now. I'm going to put the link on the chat. The link is hhhands.com, just dental tray. I'm going to put it on the chat right away. The link is available. We've been trying to get so if you know, students from Africa, I've been trying to reach them. Not so easy, not much information, but we'll be using social media, Instagram and Facebook to reach out to their various groups. But I would really appreciate sending the word out there. The link, I'll put the link on there. It's hhands.org.
And you could also probably, it's a suggestion, add that email when you send for the grades or the credits.
Yes.
Maybe you could put that link there, share with your friends or something like that.
It's already there. It's already there.
Amazing.
The link is already on that on the survey. Yeah. Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you very much.
I'll be having you. Once we have a data, I will send out your invitation to everyone.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, Dr. Razzoog, thank you.
Healing Hands Health Society presents Dental Webinar Series. We have planned a series dental webinars to keep you abreast of current practice. This series on prosthodontics will be via Zoom, Facebook Live. Presenters are drawn from dental schools in the USA, private practitioners from around the world. To register for future webinars, visit www.hhands.org/dental-training. For future inquiries, contact Facilitator